Ever seen those old westerns where a slick-talking salesman rolls into town promising a miracle cure-all in a tiny bottle? They call him a snake oil salesman, a charlatan, a quack. But what if I told you the real story is far more fascinating and even a little bit true? Today, we're going to uncover the surprising origins of snake oil and how it became the ultimate symbol of medical fraud. The story starts not in the American West, but in China with the Chinese water snake. For centuries, traditional Chinese medicine has used oil rendered from this snake to treat joint pain, arthritis, and inflammation. And here's the kicker, modern science actually backs this up. Chinese water snake oil is incredibly rich in omega-3 fatty acids, like eicosapentaenoic acid, or EPA, which are powerful anti-inflammatory agents. Think of it as a natural, potent version of the fish oil supplements many of us take today. So how did this legitimate remedy get such a bad name? It all comes down to a group of people you might not expect, Chinese laborers who came to America in the 1860s to build the Transcontinental Railroad. They brought their traditional remedies with them, including that very real snake oil. They would use it after a long, grueling day of labor to soothe their aching muscles and joints. Their American counterparts, many of whom were Irish laborers, saw the remarkable effects and started asking for it. The Chinese workers shared their remedy, and for a while, it was a genuinely helpful, shared secret among the working class. Word started to spread about this amazing snake oil from the East, and where there's demand, an entrepreneur is sure to follow. This is where the quintessential American snake oil salesman enters the picture. One of the most famous was a man named Clark Stanley, the Rattlesnake King. In 1893, at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, Stanley put on a dramatic show. In front of a massive crowd, he'd grab a live rattlesnake, slice it open, and boil it right there to render its oil. He claimed his snake oil liniment could cure everything from toothaches and sore throats to sciatica and animal bites. People were captivated by the spectacle and eager to buy a bottle of his miracle cure. Stanley was making a fortune, selling his liniment for 50 cents a bottle, a fair amount of money back then. But there was a huge problem. Clark Stanley wasn't using Chinese water snakes. He was using local American rattlesnakes, and here's the crucial difference. Rattlesnake fat contains very few of the beneficial omega-3 fatty acids found in Chinese water snake oil. So his product was essentially useless. The government started getting suspicious. The Pure Food and Drug Act was passed in 1906, giving them the power to regulate these so-called patent medicines. In 1917, federal investigators seized a shipment of Stanley's snake oil liniment and had it tested. The results were shocking. The analysis found that his miracle cure contained mineral oil, beef fat, red pepper for that warming sensation, and a hint of turpentine. And the most damning part? It contained absolutely no snake oil whatsoever, not a single drop. Clark Stanley was charged with misbranding his product and fined a whopping $20. It might not sound like much today, but the public exposure was devastating. The government's report laid bare the fraud, and the term snake oil was forever cemented in the American lexicon as a synonym for any deceptive, fraudulent product. The story of the snake oil salesman is a classic tale of cultural appropriation and marketing spin gone wrong. A genuine, effective folk remedy from one culture was taken, misunderstood, and shamelessly exploited by another for profit. The original Chinese snake oil was a legitimate treatment for inflammation, but the American imitation, peddled by showmen like Clark Stanley, was nothing more than a bottle of lies. These salesmen were masters of psychology. They didn't just sell a product, they sold hope. They traveled from town to town, especially in rural areas where access to real doctors was limited and people were desperate for relief. Their traveling medicine shows were a form of entertainment. There was music, comedy, and dramatic testimonials from paid actors who would claim to be miraculously cured. The salesman, often dressed in a fancy suit and calling himself doctor or professor, would use persuasive language and pseudoscientific jargon to build trust and create an illusion of authority. They preyed on people's fears and desires, promising quick, easy solutions to complex health problems. Their products, often laced with alcohol, opium, or cocaine, would make people feel good temporarily, reinforcing the belief that the medicine was working. This created a cycle of dependency and repeat customers, and it wasn't just snake oil. There were countless other patent medicines with grand claims, and dubious ingredients: Kickapoo Indian sagwa, Dr. Kilmer's swamp root, and Lydia Pinkham's vegetable compound, to name a few. The downfall of the snake oil era was a major turning point for public health in America. The exposure of frauds like Clark Stanley led to stricter regulations and the rise of scientific, evidence-based medicine. It taught the public a harsh but valuable lesson about skepticism and the importance of questioning extraordinary claims. So the next time you hear someone called a snake oil salesman, remember the full story. It's not just about a simple con man. It's a story that spans continents, from the railroad tracks of the American West to the ancient traditions of China. It's a reminder that sometimes, behind the biggest frauds, there can be a small, forgotten kernel of truth. The real tragedy isn't just that the American product was fake, but that a genuine remedy was lost and its name tarnished in the process. Thanks for joining me on this journey back to the Old West. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden histories. Let me know in the comments what other historical myths you'd like me to debunk. See you in the next video.